stop. Before you finalize your Caribbean cruise itinerary for 2026, you need to watch this video because 7 of the most popular ports in the Caribbean are not what the brochure shows you. The photos are real, the beaches exist, but what happens between the moment you step off that ship and the moment you desperately want to get back on it? That is the part nobody shows you. 7 Caribbean ports appear on almost every cruise itinerary this year. Travel agents recommend them, cruise lines promote them, and experienced cruisers who have been there say the same thing every single time. They will never go back. You spent thousands of dollars on this cruise. You researched the ships, you compared the cabins, you planned every excursion, but nobody warned you about the ports. And the cruisers who find out the hard way after they have already paid, after they are already standing on that dock, they wish someone had said something before they booked. Today, someone is saying something. These are the 7 Caribbean cruise ports you should never book in 2026 and what to choose instead. Number 1, Nassau, Bahamas. Nassau is the most visited cruise port in the Caribbean. It is also the port that generates the highest volume of passenger complaints year after year without exception. The problem is not the Bahamas. The problem is what Nassau has become. The moment you step off the ship, you walk into a wall of aggressive vendors, overpriced tourist shops, and taxi drivers who charge triple the standard rate the moment they hear an American accent. The famous Cable Beach is a 30-minute taxi ride from the port. Getting there and back will cost more than most passengers' budget for an entire excursion. And when you arrive, you share that beach with thousands of other cruise passengers who made the same trip from the same ships docked behind you. Cruise forums in 2025 consistently flagged Nassau as one of the top ports for reported pickpocketing and overcharging of tourists in crowded market areas. Passengers who went once describe it as a place they will actively avoid on every future itinerary. Skip Nassau. Book Half Moon Cay instead, a private island a short sail away with white sand, clear water, zero vendor pressure, and the Caribbean experience that Nassau has been promising and failing to deliver for years. Number 2 is where cruise lines are actively misleading passengers about what they will find the moment they arrive. Number 2, Falmouth, Jamaica. Jamaica is one of the most naturally beautiful islands in the entire Caribbean. Falmouth is not where that beauty lives. Falmouth Port was built in 2011 as a contained tourist zone, a shopping complex surrounded by a perimeter designed to keep cruise passengers inside and spending money rather than exploring the actual island. The town directly outside the port gates is underdeveloped, unsafe for solo walking, and deeply underwhelming for anyone who arrived expecting the Jamaica they saw in the brochure. Dunn's River Falls, the famous waterfall that every Falmouth excursion advertises, is over an hour away by road. By the time passengers travel there, climb the falls, and return, more than half the port day is gone. The remaining time is spent in a shopping complex that looks identical to every other port stop on the itinerary. Avoid Falmouth. Book Ocho Rios instead. Shorter travel time to the falls, a more developed and authentic waterfront, and a port experience that actually matches what Jamaica is supposed to feel like. Number 3 has been declining for years. Cruise lines keep sending ships there anyway. Number 3, Bridgetown, Barbados. Barbados has earned its reputation as one of the more refined Caribbean destinations. Bridgetown, its main cruise port, has spent years failing to live up to that reputation. The port area is dominated by the same duty-free shops and jewelry stores found at every other stop on this list. The beaches that justify Barbados's reputation are on the west and south coasts, far from the port, and accessible only by expensive taxi or an unreliable local bus that returning passengers consistently describe as difficult to navigate on a tight port schedule. For a port day of 6 to 8 hours, spending 2 of them in transit to and from a beach is not acceptable. Cruise forums have flagged a consistent pattern of overcharging and tour misrepresentation from operators working directly outside the Bridgetown pier in 2025 and into 2026. Skip Bridgetown. Book Soufriere in St. Lucia instead, a port that puts you within minutes of the Pythons, the volcanic beach and scenery that Bridgetown passengers spend their entire port day trying to reach and never do. Number 4 will surprise you because this port has a reputation that almost nobody questions until they actually go. Number 4, Charlotte Amalie. St. Thomas. St. Thomas appears on more Caribbean itineraries than almost any other port. It is marketed as a shopper's paradise, duty-free luxury goods, a stunning harbor, and a destination so well established that most passengers assume it is a guaranteed highlight. It is not. On peak days in 2025, as many as 8 cruise ships docked at Charlotte Amalie simultaneously, flooding a small port town with tens of thousands of passengers, all trying to visit the same shops, eat at the same restaurants, and reach the same beaches at the same time. The duty-free prices that once made St. Thomas worth visiting no longer offer real savings. Most items available on the waterfront are cheaper online, and Magens Bay Beach, consistently ranked among the most beautiful in the world, is a 20-minute drive through traffic that becomes completely gridlocked when multiple ships are in port. Avoid Charlotte Amalie. Take the ferry to St. John instead. No large cruise ship dock, no gridlock, no crowds. Beaches that look exactly like the Caribbean is supposed to look, because the passengers who know the difference stopped going to St. Thomas years ago. If you are watching Cruise Navigator for the first time, welcome. This channel exists to give you the honest information that cruise lines and travel agents leave out. Subscribe now, because number 5 is the one that confuses passengers the most, and the distinction matters before you book. Number 5. Castries, St. Lucia. St. Lucia is a stunning island. Let that be completely clear. But Castries, its capital and main cruise port, is where the island's reputation and the cruise experience completely disconnect. The port area is overcrowded, the waterfront market is aggressive, and the infrastructure has not kept pace with the volume of ships arriving each year. The landmarks that make St. Lucia famous, the pitons, the rainforest, the volcanic beach at Soufriere, are all located on the south of the island, an hour or more from Castries by road. Passengers who dock at Castries and attempt to reach these sites spend the majority of their port day in a vehicle, not at a destination. The island itself is worth visiting. Castries as a cruise port stop is a waste of a day. In 2025, several cruise lines quietly reduced their Castries calls and began substituting Soufriere, a smaller southern port that puts passengers directly adjacent to the island's most spectacular scenery. If your itinerary lists Castries, check whether your cruise line offers a Soufriere alternative. If it does not, treat the port day as a rest day on the ship and save St. Lucia for a land-based trip where you control your own schedule. Number 6 is one that experienced cruisers have been warning about for 3 years. It is still being sold as a highlight on premium itineraries. Number 6. Philipsburg, St. Maarten. St. Maarten was devastated by Hurricane Irma in 2017. The recovery has been significant but uneven. Philipsburg, the main cruise port, has rebuilt its tourism infrastructure around shops and beach bars rather than authentic island experience. The famous Maho Beach, where aircraft land directly over sunbathers, is a genuinely spectacular sight. It is also 45 minutes from the port by taxi, and the taxi operators charge accordingly. Returning passengers in 2025 and 2026 consistently report that Philipsburg's waterfront offers nothing beyond jewelry stores and beach bars, identical to those found at every other port on this list. The island's genuinely interesting experiences all require transit time and expense that a standard port day cannot comfortably support. Skip Philipsburg. Take the short journey to Gustavia in St. Bart's instead. French-influenced, beautifully maintained, far less crowded, and a completely different Caribbean experience from anything else on a standard Eastern itinerary. Number 7 is on almost every Eastern Caribbean itinerary. It generates the single highest volume of disappointed first-time cruiser reviews every year, and it is the port that will close out this list, because understanding why it fails tells you everything you need to know about how cruise lines choose their stops. Number 7. San Juan, Puerto Rico. San Juan is a historically rich, genuinely fascinating city. As a cruise port day, it is one of the most consistently disappointing experiences in the Caribbean, and the gap between those two facts is the entire problem. The cruise piers in San Juan are located far from Old San Juan, the colonial district that is the city's only real draw for cruise passengers. Getting there requires a taxi or a shuttle. On days when multiple ships are in port simultaneously, the roads between the pier and Old San Juan become gridlocked. Old San Juan itself, while undeniably beautiful, is small. When thousands of cruise passengers arrive at the same time, the narrow cobblestone streets become so overcrowded that the experience loses the charm that made it worth visiting in the first place. Puerto Rico deserves more than a port day. San Juan, as a 6-hour cruise stop, shared with thousands of other passengers, and spent largely in transit, is not the way to experience it. If San Juan is on your itinerary, do not waste the day in Old San Juan with the crowds. Book a direct excursion to El Yunque Rainforest, 45 minutes from the pier, genuinely spectacular, and almost always less crowded than the old city on ship days. It is the one San Juan experience that actually delivers what a Caribbean port day should feel like. 7 ports, 7 experiences that fall short of what cruise lines promise and what passengers deserve. The Caribbean is one of the most beautiful regions on Earth, and the right port makes your cruise unforgettable. The wrong one costs you an entire day of a vacation you saved years to afford. Now you know which ports to avoid, and you know exactly what to book instead. If this video saved your itinerary, subscribe to Cruise Navigator. Every week, the honest information that cruise lines leave out of the brochure. Because a great cruise does not happen by accident. It happens because someone told you the truth before you boarded.